Hey guys, it's Chris. Since humans have taken over the planet, we've felt increasingly responsible for other life forms. But sometimes we have animals to thank for our own survival. From pet rabbits to wild sea lions. Join me as I discuss 8 times when animals rescued humans. Number 8. Gorillas protecting children. Zoo enclosures are typically designed to keep animals in, rather than to keep humans out. And while most adults have no interest in having direct contact with wild animals who could potentially kill them, children are another story. Sometimes curious children make their way into exhibits, and every now and then, someone falls into one. The outcomes of such incidents are often tragic due to the animals attacking people who enter their territory. But sometimes an animal's protective instincts kick in, and they take a more sympathetic approach. In 1996, a 3-year-old boy fell into the gorilla exhibit at Brookfield Zoo in Illinois. One of the 7 gorillas, a 7-year-old female named Binti, picked the child up and cradled her in her arms. Then she placed her near a door where zookeepers could come and rescue him. A decade earlier in 1986, a 5-year-old boy named Levin Merritt slipped and fell into a gorilla pit in Jersey Zoo and fell unconscious. As the pack curiously approached little Levin, a 7-foot-tall, 252-pound lowland gorilla named Jambo patiently stood guard over the motionless boy, stroking his back and protecting him from his encircling cage mates. When Levin regained consciousness, his family yelled down to him, telling him to remain still. Their shouting startled the pack, and Jambo led them away from the scene. Emergency personnel took the boy's rescue over from there. Number 7. Pet rabbit rescues diabetic owner. In 2004, Simon Stegall of Cambridgeshire, England fell into a potentially lethal diabetic coma while watching television. Stegall's wife, Victoria, assumed her husband had simply fallen asleep after a hard day's work. The couple's pet rabbit, Dory, sensed that something was wrong and jumped on top of Simon. She dug at his chest and face and licked at his mouth, as if she was trying to bring him back to consciousness. At first, Victoria yelled at Dory to get off the furniture, but the rabbit persisted, and Victoria realized something was seriously wrong. Simon couldn't move or speak, and despite being a diabetic since childhood, he had received no warnings of an impending coma. Victoria called for help, and paramedics revived him. But Simon also had Dory to thank for saving his life. Britain's largest organization for rabbit lovers, the Rabbit Welfare Association, recognized her for this accomplishment by granting her honorary membership, a privilege typically reserved for humans. Number 6. Beluga saves diver. In July 2009, the Polarland theme park in Harbin, China hosted a free diving contest in its 20-foot-deep Arctic temperature whale tank. There were 7 competitors who were not allowed to use breathing equipment, and the winner would be awarded with the so-called privilege of applying for a job as a whale trainer. During the contest, 26-year-old Yang Yun's legs cramped due to the water's frigid temperature, rendering her unable to return to the surface. She was essentially paralyzed, and the water pressure further inhibited her ability to swim. As Yang Yun started drowning, a beluga whale named Mila rushed to her aid, using her mouth to grasp onto the woman's legs and push her back to safety. Yang Yun was uninjured, thanks to the beluga's small teeth, as well as Mila's quick thinking. Polarland staff praised Mila's heroic deed. She's a sensitive animal who works closely with humans, and I think this girl owes Mila her life, a Polarland official said. Number 5. Horse rescues owner from raging cow. One day in August of 2007, a Scottish farmer named Fiona Boyd was home alone and brewing some tea when she heard a calf's distressed cries. She went outside to investigate and noticed that a calf had been separated from its mother. Boyd attempted to reunite the two, As she approached the distressed calf, its typically docile half-ton mother charged at Boyd, repeatedly, bringing the woman helplessly to the ground. The cow continued attacking Boyd as she unsuccessfully attempted to get back on her feet. Then the cow rolled on top of its victim with the full force of its weight. Weakened and in excruciating pain, Boyd believed she was going to die and conceded to this notion of impending doom by rolling up into a ball and awaiting her untimely end. Just in the nick of time, Boyd's 15-year-old mare Carrie heard the ordeal and sprang into action. Carrie kicked wildly at the cow, giving Boyd the opportunity to crawl to safety 20 feet away, where she took refuge underneath an electric fence. "I am in no doubt Carrie saved me," Boyd said after the attack. "If she hadn't been grazing in the same pasture, I really believe I would have been killed. Carrie was fantastic. She saved my life." Number 4. Sea lion rescues Golden Gate Bridge jumper. On September 25, 2000, 19-year-old Kevin Hines found himself at an all-time low while combating bipolar disorder and in the throes of psychosis. At a perceived lack of other options, he attempted to end his life by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. Unlike many others, Hines survived his fall to the water below and managed to emerge to the water's surface despite being seriously injured. As the young man bobbed up and down in the frigid San Francisco Bay, something hit his leg. At first, Hines feared he'd encountered a hungry shark and tried punching at the animal, but it continuously circled beneath him, intermittently boosting him to the surface. It was a sea lion. And when a passerby witnessed Hines' predicament, as well as the heroic animal who was ensuring he remained above water, the person called for help. Thankfully, the young man was pulled from the water in time for his life to be spared. And Hines was grateful for the invisible force that helped save him from otherwise near certain death, and went on to work in mental health and suicide prevention. If not for the sea lion, he might not have survived his leap from the bridge. Hines' survival story reminds us that even when we're at our lowest, life is worth living. Number 3. Whale saves diver from shark. Marine biologist Nan Hauser was swimming off the Cook Islands in the fall of 2017 when a humpback whale approached her head-on. For the next 10 minutes, the whale repeatedly bumped into her, attempting to carry her on its head, back, and belly, and underneath its pectoral fin. This behavior was unusual for the 46 to 47-foot creature, according to Hauser, who'd spent nearly 3 decades working with whales and had never seen a humpback act so peculiarly. She sensed that she was in danger, and as she swam away from the whale, she noticed a marine animal's tail in the distance, wagging from side to side, a telltale sign of a shark's presence. Once Hauser reached her team's research vessel, she realized she was being trailed by a 15-foot-long tiger shark and that the whale was probably trying to protect her from being attacked. She also realized that there was another humpback whale near the shark, swatting the water to keep it at bay. Humpback whales have a documented history of protecting other creatures from attacks, but this was the first known case of them shielding humans from harm. This tendency may stem from the whale's instinctive impulse to protect calves. For Hauser and some other researchers, this behavior points to an innate propensity for altruism. Number 2. Bear rescues hiker from mountain lion. In early 2012, a 69-year-old hiker named Robert Biggs claimed that a mountain lion attacked him from behind in Northern California. Biggs allegedly hit the cat in the head with a rock pick in self-defense, but was unable to free himself from the animal's grasp. Then, according to Biggs, a female black bear appeared and ripped the cat off of him. The two supposedly fought for another 15 seconds before the cat ran off, and the bear returned to her cub. Biggs had been hiking the trail for years and emerged from the ordeal barely scathed, with very minor injuries. He reportedly refused his wife's urgings for him to go to the hospital, instead treating his wounds at home with peroxide. In an interview with the Huffington Post, Biggs explained that the bear was entirely responsible for saving his life. He even claimed that he'd seen her before, and they briefly made eye contact after she rescued him. Wildlife officials from California's Department of Fish and Game were immediately suspicious of Big's story. For one, mountain lion attacks are fairly infrequent. Secondly, it was difficult to believe that Biggs had walked away with mere scrapes and cuts, especially because mountain lions aren't known to just run away in the middle of an attack, even when a bear enters the picture. Biggs also bore no evidence of mountain lion hair or saliva, and no bear hair, further calling his credibility into question. He claimed that his backpack was exceptionally clean because he left it out in the rain before it ended up in the hands of wildlife officials. Number 1. Dolphins save shipwrecked woman. In September 1972, a 23-year-old South African woman named Yvonne Vadislavich became shipwrecked in the Indian Ocean off the Mozambique coast. According to some reports, the boat's engine stopped working, while others claimed that it exploded. Either way, the vessel was sunk by a large wave. Vladislavich was a strong swimmer. Despite having an injured foot, she tried swimming to shore. Along the way, 6 sharks began following her, gradually getting closer to the woman. Then 2 dolphins appeared. They kept the sharks away from Vladislavich, escorting her as she floated and swam 25 miles to a buoy. During the journey, the dolphins helped keep her above water. Vladislavich was the ship's only survivor. Well, that's all for now. Hope you liked these stories. Do you have any other inspirational animal stories? Feel free to share in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to World List if you haven't already. See you next time.